Past few days have been pretty depressing to me personally. I feel like I'm watching my country die. We have a leader who has gone off the rails, coming out of control, authoritarian, and a Congress who is unwilling to do anything to limit his actions, even though I know the majority of Congress opposes him. And that's the hardest part to me, is that I know they oppose him, but they're terrified of losing in their next primary. I suppose this requires some explanation. In the United States, there is a process to decide who is allowed to run for political office. This process is controlled by the political parties. It's not government control. And that's key. I think a lot of foreigners might not understand. It is not government controlled. It is run by the political parties. You can create your own party and create your own rules, or you do not have to be a member of any political party. And people do that. For example, Bernie Sanders. He's not a member of any political party. He's an independent. But to run as a member of a party, you must follow these rules. Okay? People are nominated to run, and there's different parties can have different ways of doing that. They debate each other, and then there is a vote for who gets the party nomination. This vote is called a primary. In some states, like where I grew up in New York, you cannot vote in a primary unless you are a member of that political party. In other states, you can only vote in one primary. So, for example, if a Democrat and Republican both run for a seat in Congress, you can only vote in one or the other. So, each seat of Congress, you can vote in one. In some states, you can vote in any primary you want. And I think that's becoming more common. Um, the primary elections tend to have very small turnouts. Sometimes only thousands of people vote, sometimes a few 100,000. It depends on the position. A senator and a president will get more votes than a county clerk. Due to this low turnout, typically hardcore people vote, and they're often the most radicalized, the most fundamentalist people in their political party, the most motivated, the rabidly political. The neutral and the moderate rarely vote in a primary. So this is what primaries, oh, sorry, excuse me. This is what paralyzes the Congress. They know if they do something, they will be held accountable by the most rabid people possible in their primary, and they will never even get to make their case to the general voter. This works as a purity test for the party, and it pushes the parties ever more towards their radical extremes. And it centralizes power into the president because congressmen are increasingly paralyzed with each passing election. So I hope that little explanation tells you something about the current state of America. Right now, I see my country dying. The majority of people I know and interact with are horrified, and this includes the conservatives, the liberals, and mostly the independents. Thus, frankly, most of the country is neither Democrat nor Republican. Most people are Democrat or independents. I'm sorry. Most people are independents. Most people don't care about politics. But everyone feels powerless to do anything. We can call congressmen, but they refuse to act. And we've trained them not to act because we have not voted in their primaries. So they don't consider us important enough. We can show up with signs and protests, but nobody cares about that. They won't achieve anything. With regards to Ukraine, I do not think anything that the US has done will change the facts of the war. At least not yet. the US is becoming increasingly anti-democratic and anti-liberal. And I do not mean liberal in the sense of a political party like the Democrats. I mean liberal as in believing in free speech and personal liberty and the pursuit of happiness. The actual liberalism. This is what America is turning its back on. If the US continues on this path, then its future decisions could impact Ukraine. I guess we'll see how far the US is willing to go. It's depressing. Um, Depressing to me and for anyone else who cares. But unfortunately, a large part of the United States has had their minds eaten by propaganda. I hear it sometimes. I live in a very conservative, hardline conservative area. But most of the conservatives that I meet are liberals, and they are equally horrified. But there are extremists. They parrot the propaganda. Sad to see. So yeah, that is where I'm standing right now. It's all very. It's not good. I just hope at some point Congress is willing to do something. But the primary system has crippled them, and it really has. I think if a president were to have tried this 20 years ago, the primary system then was not as radicalized as it is today, and I think Congress would have been willing to do something. But today, different. And there's a hint of irony that I see in this because there are congressmen speaking up against Trump, but they're not doing anything against Trump. And I think they think their inaction will save them. I think just uttering the words will make them lose their primary. So there's this ironic karmic twist here where I think their cowardice make them lose the primary that they're afraid of losing. Um, that's all I gotta say for today.